In Texas, USA. Welcome to the In Wheel Time Car Show, your all things automotive car talk show. This hour, we visit with Mark Rancart and take a peek at what he's working on over at Sweet Rides. We'll have new car reviews of the Jeep Gladiator Mojave and the Mercedes-Benz Gle 450. We'll also have this week's automotive news, the Mystery Garage. Conrad's going to have the car clinic. It's all just ahead in a jam-packed 2-hour in-wheel time car show for Saturday, August the 8th, 2020. Howdy, along with Mike Out of This World Mars and King Conrad DeLong. I'm Don Armstrong. So glad that you could join us. We really appreciate your live look at our little show here. And like I said, we've got a good show. We were just talking before we went on the air about Mark Rancourt and Sweet Rides, and you're going to tell me when he's ready, aren't you? Yes, you will tell me. Okay, very good. We had to call him. Actually, he called us, and we missed the phone call, and so we're getting all that hooked up as we speak right now. But at any rate, give you a little background on Mark. Mark came to us through a friend of ours, and actually it was Randy Borcherding over at his place of business.
Yeah, Paint House.
At Paint House. And I had contacted Randy Borcherding to somebody else. I don't remember how I met Randy, but at any rate, that went down the line there, and because I was looking for somebody to restore, paint, fix up, help me with the 66 Corvair that was a field find.
The original in-wheel time.
Yes, the original in-wheel time machine. And it was this god-awful color called Aztec bronze.
Kind of a poopy copper.
Actually, what it looked
That
like.
was on a good day when it came from the factory, and it was new.
What it looked like, after sitting out in the sun for 50 years, it looked like bad red primer.
And that's giving it credit for looking well.
It was bad. It was real bad. And the interior color was the same.
But it was an originally Houston-sold car by Knapp Chevrolet.
And it was all original and didn't have any rust in it and got it running and did all that stuff. So
did a wonderful job on it. I mean, it looked awesome when it was done.
Yeah, it took many months, but because car restoration like that takes time. And I told Mark, I said, I'm not under any rush here to get this done. I said, I'd like to get it so we're ready for the Houston Autorama.
Didn't say which year.
Yeah. Well, as it turned out, we made it. And I had about 6 weeks to go. And once Mark got finished with it, and then we took it over to my buddy over at the
Texas Truck Works?
No. Took it. Well, I did take it over there to get it lowered and did some suspension work on it. But I took it over to.
Gosh, did you forget to take your Prevagen? We need to get Prevagen as a sponsor. Get on that, Jeff.
It was all that liquor that Jeff put in me last night.
Oh.
You got to blame it on somebody. Blame it on him. God. At any rate, so we had the interior done, and we wound up showing the car at Autorama, and everybody seemed to like it.
It attracted a lot of attention. Lots of people came over to talk about it and tell you it looked like a Camaro.
Yeah, or
a modified Camaro.
Or that I turned it around and put the engine in the front. Remember that? Remember that comment?
That one guy was just adamant, though.
Yeah. So at any rate, thanks goes to Mark Rancourt out at Sweet Rides, because if it weren't for Mark, we would have never reached that plateau. I ultimately, a couple years later, sold the car, and it now resides. Well, I sold it to the guy that is the owner of Edible Arrangements, who lives in Atlanta. So the car was shipped to Atlanta, and I assume that it resides in his collection.
And he may have done some of the things you didn't do, because I always wanted you to put the LS motor in it, and you never did, but that's okay. But the car looked awesome. I mean, and that was the one thing I remember Mark, when he was at the station that one time, and we walked downstairs, and you showed him what those stripes looked like. I don't remember what you were driving, and he said, "I am not putting stripes."
No, stickers.
Stickers.
I'm not putting stickers on the car. I said, okay, well.
So he painted the color on.
Painted the stripes on it. And I don't know why, but we don't have that in our picture collection that we can show everybody. We'll go through that. We'll find it. I'll send you a photo of it. But at any rate, it was it was a fun project, kind of. I had to send the carburetors off, get those rebuilt. And even though that they were one-barrel carburetors and were relatively simple.
But there were two of them.
There were two of them. Actually, my original Corvair back in high school, it had 4 one-barrels. Can you imagine trying to tune that? That was a pain.
Well, and it takes a talented person that knows how to find the balance in 2 carburetors, 3 carburetors, or 4 carburetors, depending on what kind of vehicle you're driving.
Yes, and exactly where, at what point of the throttle do other carburetors come into play in feeding the engine the gas and the air that it needs. So all of it needs to be balanced. And, the Corvair was not some sort of a Indy car by any stretch of the imagination, but you had to know what you were doing.
Sure, because it had, multi-carburetors. You have to make sure both carburetors are delivering at the same rate,
Right.
Or you get, because one carburetor feeds 2 cylinders, 3 cylinders, the other carburetor feeds the other 3, and when you're off balance, the car doesn't run right.
Right. And, the other thing is that engine was unique from Chevrolet in the fact that it was a flat 6.
Air-cooled flat 6.
An air-cooled flat 6. And they were kind of trying to bridge the gap between the Volkswagen Beetle and a Porsche.
Well, I think when Corvair came out, the Porsche 912 and the 356 were still 4-cylinder cars.
Yeah.
The 6-cylinder Corvair or Porsche 911 didn't come out until after the Corvair was in production a couple of years.
Yeah.
So Chevrolet was the first one with a mass-produced, if you consider a 911 to have been a mass-produced engine, air-cooled 6-cylinder, much less multi-carb, much less turbocharged.
And it was a horizontally opposed 6-cylinder. So you had 3 cylinders on each side going back and forth with each other, as opposed to a V6 or an inline 6. Mm-hmm. So it was unique. And I know that the Corvair that I had back in '69, it was a Corsa. It had the 4 one-barrels on it and a 4-speed manual transmission. The one that Mark worked on had a 2-speed
automatic
slush-o-matic in it, but the 4-speed, it would get up and go pretty well, especially after I had those carburetors rebuilt by the guy that worked at Richardson Chevrolet where I worked at. He was the carburetor guy, the tune-up guy.
Well, back in those days, there were carburetor guys and tune-up guys. Today, I think
they're computer operators.
Well, I think you could struggle bringing a vehicle into most shops that needs the carburetor worked on. You're going to have to go find somewhat of a specialized shop that's going to be able to do carburetor work, because nobody's done any carburetor work for 10, 15 years, even closer to 20 years.
Well, I learned the lesson with the Corvair, never to ever have carburetors again. What a pain. We didn't realize it back in the day. They worked for so long.
Yeah,
I know. Shut up.
I seem to remember somebody told you to put a FI on it, but that's okay.
Well, I know. But I can't imagine spending that kind of money on a Corvair. No, that was not going to happen. However, you did convince me that if I ever had that original Z28 Camaro with the 302 solid lifter motor in it, throw away the carburetor.
Don't throw it away. If it's the original carburetor for the car, box it up and keep it somewhere. But I would put a fuel injection system on top of it in place of the carburetor, and lots of people make those. And that might be something the folks out at Sweet Rides could help you make that decision on, is putting a fuel injection system in place of a carburetor.
Well, if anybody were to know, it would be Mark Rancourt, who has finally joined us. A little late, but Mark, it's good to see you. How are you?
Apologies, technical difficulties. Sorry.
Well, that's all right.
We know what technical difficulties are. We've got Mars here with us all the time.
That's right. We've been working for 2 hours trying to get some new actually 2 hours and now 4 weeks. And we still can't get new cameras on. So we're quite familiar with all of that. Yeah. Are you at the shop?
I'm sorry?
Are you out there at Sweet Rides this morning?
Yeah, he's sitting in the office right now.
Well, why aren't we in the office? I want to go out there and see the cars.
Well, sure, we can do that too. Hey, Conrad, I want to thank you for the referral that you gave me.
John, his Cougar, he's kept he's kept a good care of the Cougar, other than just time has caught up with him. And I tried to set the stage for you with him because I was like, well, what do you expect of the car? What do you expect of the restoration? And then the final question, which is always should be the first question, is what's your budget? So I'm sure he shared all of that. John's a long friend of mine. I'm going to say, 30-plus years friend of mine. And when he'd asked me who would I take a vehicle to, what would I do? And I said, I'd definitely take it to Sweet Rides in Magnolia. And then I think he's coming to you at a Lake Conroe anyhow, so the location works for him.
Yeah. Okay, so we're going to take a little tour of the shop. And I know that
right now we're down here in the paint shop.
Yeah, because when I was up there, at the other end of that complex there that you have for Sweet Rides, you were working on multiple cars, and I know that you always have a full house over there. Actually, so much so that can we not make his picture any bigger? Can't make it. It's him. Okay. So at any rate, so what are you showing us a picture of there, Mark?
Well, here we just got this is like the paint shop area down here, right? So we've got. This one we're just about finished with, a little mid-'80s Chevy truck. In the booth there, we've got a Blazer that we did a lot of, and that's going to be super nice.
Yes, but, I saw the Blazer when I was out there. Yeah, yeah. Well, that's very cool.
Yeah, you saw that. Yeah, when you were.
Yeah.
And the C10 is all the rage right now. C10s are one of the more popular ones. Everybody's trying to refurbish, restore, modify, resto mod. So I love that color.
So, Mark, the blue one there that you're showing us, was that a body off restoration that you're doing there?
Not necessarily a body off. I mean, we pulled the bed. We didn't pull the cab. The motor already done.
Oh, I see. Okay. The reception out there in Magnolia isn't all that.
Left the fenders on. And the
Mark, if you can hear us,
can you hear me now?
Well, you need to get out from underneath that metal building that you're in there.
Because it's kind of slowing you down and your video's a little choppy.
Yeah.
But that's okay. You're doing what we asked because we wanted you to walk through the shop
but that cup and string phone company that you're currently hiring for your cell phone service sucks.
Right, I know. I'm sorry.
That's all right. But at any rate, so get outside now because I wanted to talk to you. I was hyping up all of the stuff that you do out there, and I wanted to let everybody know Mark had a major body shop called Rancourt Collision out there off of 290 for decades. Mm-hmm. And he sold it. You sold it at the beginning of the year so you could devote your full attention to Sweet Rides. And from what I saw when I was out there, now that you're out there, you've got a full house and cars waiting in line to get in because things seem to have picked up the pace out there in the past year since you've been out there.
Yeah, we've been very fortunate out here. I think we're right about a year and a half's waiting list to get in. If on a full restoration, if it's a little spot job or something like we've got a few of those in here, those will go in pretty quick.
Yeah. Well, I would imagine.
As far as the complete frame offs, they're going to take a little while.
And they always do. It's not a matter of how much time they take, because they take a lot of time, but it's also about how much space they take. Because doing a frame off is you take everything off the frame and you have to store it someplace so you could put it all back on the frame at some place. So it absorbs a lot of space in that aspect as well.
Mark, let me ask you, do you actually do you powder coat the frames out there, or do you send the frames off to get them powder coated?
That just depends on what the customer wants. I mean, I don't do powder coating myself.
Yeah, because I mean that takes a special facility.
So a lot of times we'll paint the customer, we'll get them powder coated.
Gotcha. Yeah, but to keep the cost down, if you really want to do it, and by keeping the cost down, you can clean up the frame if the car has a frame, which most do, especially in the categories that you're dealing with, but. To do a good job, I mean, a good paint job on a frame will be just fine, especially if you're going to drive the car. I mean, when I think of powder coating,
Correct.
I think of, high gloss, let's put the mirrors underneath the car. Let's get under there and dust it off for every car show that we do. Whereas opposed to painting it, you can put a really nice paint job on it and still be able to drive it and protect the frame the way it's supposed to be and take care of all the imperfections on the frame. People have welded stuff on it, might have an accident damage, whatever the case may be. So there are other alternatives other than hot painting it, if you want to call it that. Yeah.
Or, I mean, sometimes it's even cheaper just to get a custom frame. I had a gentleman come in last week, and he had spent $45,000 on someone modifying his original frame. And I said, you could have got away with this frame setup that we have on a custom 5-window truck that he could have been a third of the cost. Just buying a whole frame instead of dealing with the original.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, I think when I was out there, you had unboxing or something, I remember distinctly, some sort of a custom frame that you'd taken delivery on, and you were going to put I think it was a truck on it.
Yeah, it was a 53 5-window.
Yeah, yeah.
And we've got it sitting right over here, so I mean, hopefully you guys can see it. But
well, you need to stand outside.
Switch it around.
You need to stand out. Yeah, you need to stand outside in the open air so that cup and string phone company will work so we can get you.
Okay. So something like that right there. You get a whole complete frame setup.
Yeah.
Well, and it would have been better for that customer to have come in and talked with you ahead of time before he spent all that money on his old frame and got a little counsel from you who does this for a living and understands the cost basis of restoring and modifying versus replacing.
Right. 100%. So that's what a lot of people try to do this stuff at home at first, and they think they're saving monies, because they're going to do it themselves. And in actuality, it costs them 3 times more because they didn't get any advice up front.
And then you have to redo so much of what they've already done.
Yeah, and they'll end up taking to 3 or 4 different shops. It's kind of like that Blazer that was down there in the paint booth. I think that I am his 4th shop that truck's been to.
Oh, my.
So he's been took pretty good.
Yeah. Well, I want to bring up a vehicle that you had in there that you were putting a new front end on it. That was that Mustang. And I don't remember what year that was, but rust was a major issue that you were dealing with.
Yes.
And
so we've already got the motor, we've got the front end, all well.
Mark, your signal really sucks. You need to go. You really
go
need to
go
your
office. Where you were.
Go back to your office where you were, because the shield that you have around out there is probably that high security area there at Sweet Rides that's preventing anybody from coming in at the Death Star,
the dome or something that's all around it,
so nobody can see the secret sauce he's building back there.
That's exactly.
The cone of silence.
Yeah.
Well, I apologize.
No, nothing to apologize for. We've crossed this path more frequently than you think.
Yeah, exactly. So I was going to say about the rust issue. Down here in Houston, if it's a Houston, Texas car, generally speaking, rust is not a major issue. But that was a major issue with that car. It looked to me like it was really not from these parts, unless it was fresh from the beach or something like that. I mean, it was bad.
It was really bad and unsafe, right? So that's why we did what we did. There's also, other than just fixing a car and painting it and patching some rust, there's still a liability issue when you're building a car.
Right.
And you've got to still make sure it's safe.
Yeah, and that was one of the things that you and I discussed over that car out there. Why don't you explain that to everybody about the liability issue? Because you could put the best paint job on it and make it look really good going down the road, but if it's not safe, no, that ain't the way to do it.
And cutting corners is not the way to go. So I won't let a customer cut any corners to save a little monies, because I have a liability, because if somebody got hurt in that vehicle or something happened to it while they were driving, then because I was the last one to work on it, it's my fault.
Well, and then with your experience, especially like on a Mustang or something, you kind of know where its problem areas are, so you kind of know what to look at ahead of time.
Yeah. And each each car line has its own areas where the rust comes up on them. So, and the Mustangs are what they nicknamed them back in the day, the Rustangs. So, they rusted everywhere.
Yeah. Well, and not only that, but I mean, when you get back to that era, I mean, the manufacturers really didn't do a whole lot with when it comes to rust prevention on cars like they do today.
Correct. Well, and they didn't have the correct sealers, or I mean, I say correct. I mean, back in the day, what they had for materials. Obviously, here we are, numerous years later, with much better products to use to seam seal than they had back in the day.
Right. How do you treat? I know this is going to be kind of off the wall here, but for the Corvair that I brought you, it had a major rust issue up underneath the front cowl, right underneath the windshield. And you see that with a lot of cars, especially those cars that have that chrome trim around the windshield where the water just sits there all the time. And
Correct.
And I brought you a new cowl panel, and you guys fit it in there, and you couldn't even tell that that you guys had done the work. But that's a major issue. And don't most cars these days of the classic era, let's just say '68. Let's use the Mustang. You can buy all of those parts and pieces and cut out the old rust and put in a new panel much easier than trying to repair the rust, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, just like this Camaro we have sitting in here, he had rust on the bottom of the fenders on his original fenders. We would have liked to have kept the original fenders, but for the cost of a new fender, it was cheaper to put new fenders on it than fix the originals.
How much does a new fender cost for, let's say, that Camaro that you're working on, a reproduction?
I think that fender was $180. Or if we would have fixed the patch, because we bill by the hour, he could have had $450 just in fixing the rust panel on the original fender.
Exactly. So there's a huge savings there. So I guess what I'm saying is that for anybody that's watching the show, that if you've got a rust issue on a classic car, you really need to do a little investigation and find out whether or not there's a panel that is reproduced for it. Not all of the reproduction panels necessarily fit, but you can always maneuver them around, maybe have to do a little nip and tuck there, but you can make it work, and still at a whole lot less price than it would be if you're trying to fix a big rust area in the bottom of a fender.
Unless you're going to fix it with paper mache, and there's people out there that do that. I'm sure Mark has run into a few of them.
Oh yeah, we've run into some few that it's like, you got to be kidding me.
How about those floorboards, Mark?
What's that?
How about those floorboards?
Oh, geez. Like on this Mustang, that was horrible. I mean, we spent more time cleaning up the underside than we did putting the front end on.
Oh, gosh.
And fixing the rust on the underside of that.
Well,
thing.
because it had been attempted to, I wouldn't even say it was an attempt to fix the rusted floorboards. I mean, it was a patchwork of this and that, and I'm surprised that there weren't license plates kind of tacked into that thing.
Hey,
trust you me, we've seen license plates and aluminum signs riveted on floor pans.
I used a stop sign in my '65 Chevelle.
Guilty. That he stole from the neighborhood because he didn't have the metal.
Well, this was back in the '70s, so I think the statute of limitations has expired by now. But again, Mark, this all comes back to all of this Don's been talking about the corrosion, how you can go so deep into fixing something where replacing it can be cheaper. That's where coming to a place like Sweet Rides makes good sense, because again, you can coach and counsel them and give them some direction on what's the smartest way to go.
Right. Smartest, cost effective, and what's going to be a better end result for them.
Mark, I know that you're in the hot rod restoration business and repair and paint and all of that sort of stuff. Do you have a hot rod yourself?
I do. I've got a 67, holy moly, 67 Camaro SSRS numbers matching 396 car.
Oh my God.
with AC, so it's a pretty rare car.
With AC, that's a very rare car.
Yes.
So you know,
and I drive the living daylights out of it.
well, that's good,
I
because
would
that's
hope
what
so.
you should do. And that was the other thing that we wanted to talk to you about is the kind of work that you turn out And we're going to take a break, Mark. I want you to stay with us, and we're going to be back and talk to you more because we want to talk about Sweet Rides and the affordability, so to speak, of the Sweet Rides restoration and repair. So can you hang in there with us for a minute?
And your internet's good where you're at right now.
Yeah, so don't move.
Yeah, if you don't melt.
Yeah. So we got more of In Wheel Time coming up after this.
Are you one of those people who thinks it's okay to drive stoned? I mean, what's the worst that can happen? You end up driving below the speed limit? It's no big deal, right? Wrong. The truth is, your reaction times slow way down when you're high. You not only put yourself in danger, but everyone around you. Talk about a buzzkill. Stop kidding yourself. It's not okay to drive high. If you've been using marijuana in any form, do not get behind the wheel. If you feel different, you drive different. Drive high, get a DUI. Paid for by NHTSA.
A social distancing tip.
While the CDC urges you to avoid close contact, like hugging or shaking hands, there are other non-physical ways to say hello. Wave, wink, use sign language, salute, smile, give the peace sign, throw up an air high five, do jazz hands. Remember, stay a minimum of 6 feet or 2 arms length away from others, and stay home if you can. For more info, visit coronavirus.gov.
Let's all do our part, because we're all #AloneTogether. Brought to you by the Ad Council.
Hey, it's the In Wheel Time car show here. I know that we've got a car review that we're gonna do that after Mark's next segment because we're running a little bit behind. So we appreciate Mark hanging in there with us. We're going to get to him with more Sweet Ride stuff right after a quick stop here to talk about the car calendar and the racing calendar.
Well, car calendar is kind of stuff that's out in the future a little bit. Next weekend, the Texas Autobahn Cruise Control long haul event, and Don and I and Jeff all went on their forest cruise about 2 months ago. This one's going to start at 290 in Hollister at the Chick-fil-A right there, and they're going to go north up to Hempstead, over towards College Station, through some of the back roads up there, and then through the National Forest and stuff. Looks like it's going to be a real fun ride again. And then on the
wait a minute. Who's doing that?
The Texas Autobahn, not the Audubon, not the guys with the birds. This is the car club, the Texas Autobahn.
Okay, Texas Autobahn.
And then on the 22nd, Showplace Classics is going to have their Twilight Car Show from 3 to 8 p.m. at the Brazos Town Center. They're going to be giving out awards and everything, and that's at 24934 Commercial Drive in Rosenberg. On the September 26th, the third annual Car and Bike Show in Montgomery at Lake Church. Also on the 26th, and I think we're going to be there if it's still going on, is Woody's second annual Waterfront Car Show at Topwater Grill in San Leon. October 3rd is going to be the Military and Veterans High Performance Driving event out at the Houston Police Academy, and that starts at 7 a.m. October 3rd. Racing calendar, the local dirt tracks, the Cotton Bowl in Page has got races tonight, all classes. The 105 Speedway in Cleveland has races tonight. The Gulf Coast Speedway down in Alvin has races tonight. And then the Texana Speedway in Edna is going to be next weekend. This weekend, Indy cars are at Mid-Ohio. Formula One is at Silverstone again. NASCAR is at Michigan, and then Indianapolis NHRA is going on this weekend, and we're rooting for our friend Erica Enders.
And don't forget that next weekend, Houston Motorsports Park, 3/8 mile asphalt. Yeah, and that's going to be next Saturday night, 6 o'clock.
And I hear they're going to have a guest pace car driver driving a classic 2001 Chevrolet Corvette.
You'll want to stay tuned to make sure that at Grandpa's pace. We've got more with Mark Ranport coming up.
It's 4 a.m., Monday, and you're literally sucking baby snot through a tube because she's congested. Man, that's love. And if you love her that much, love her enough to make sure she's buckled in the right car seat. To make sure your child's in the right seat for their age and size, visit nhtsa.gov/the right seat. Show them you love them. Keep them safe. Visit nhtsa.gov/the right seat. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Is your business or company looking to stand out in a crowded advertising market?
Looking to reach the real auto enthusiast? You found it. You're listening or watching In Wheel Time, and so are your fellow enthusiasts. The In Wheel Time Car Show now reaches 500,000, and we can put together a marketing plan that will engage them in your product, business, or service. To get the tires rolling, just shoot us an email to our marketing director, Jeff Zekin. His address is jeff@inwheeltime.com. This is your weekly go-to award-winning car talk show, In Wheel Time. We continue our conversation with the proprietor of Sweet Rides, Mr. Mark Rancourt, about his restoration, resto-mod, do-over, and paint palace.
Paint Palace.
I'm sure that he'll appreciate that.
I think he'd rather it be called Sweet Rides.
And we're also going to peek into this week's Mystery Garage, plus the stories making automotive news headlines. Howdy, along with Mike Out of This World Mars and King Conrad DeLong, I'm Don Armstrong. As I mentioned, our guest today, Mr. Mark Rancourt with Sweet Rides. And, you know, Mark, I was kind of alluding to the fact that, you know, you're probably one of the more affordable kind of guys out in the restoration field where, you know, you like to work with people that may be on a limited budget or need one thing or another done to their car, and maybe not the entire car. And why don't you explain to us how that works? What do we have to do to get a foot in the door out there at Sweet Rides?
What they want, you know, what their end result is.
So it's the old phrase, begin with the end in mind.
Yeah, I want to find out where they want to go. You know, it's kind of like I tell them, you know, speed costs money, how fast you want to go. Looks cost money, how well do you want to look.
And Don's been saving that money all his life.
Yeah, he has. So while we were on break, you were kind of walking around, you know, speaking about how to get started. You had a couple of projects in there. It looked like a Firebird convertible or a couple of other cars that you've gotten that are kind of at that entry level, it looks like.
Yeah, like the Firebird, that was down at the Autorama last year. The customer's already taken it a few times. You know, we're all done with it now. We're just waiting for him to get back into town, fixing, you know, minor little things here and there so you can go enjoy the car.
Yeah, but that's one of the things about doing a car is sometimes you're never quite finished. There's always that something else you want to do.
Well, it's like I tell a lot of the customers, it's a toy. And toys cost money, or it's a hobby, and hobbies cost money.
Right.
You know, so if you enjoy the old car, you're always going to sink a little here, a little there into them. You know, but when you start with a project, you want to really just get with the customer and find out what they're actually looking for at the end. You know, so you know, I tell them it's all by the hour. So am I the cheapest one out there? Absolutely not. Am I the most expensive one? Absolutely not. You know, it's like I've got friends, and you guys have had them on the show a few times, and you know, they do really, really high-end restoration. Mm-hmm. And, you know, my motto out here is I just want to build cars, you know, let the customers put $60,000, $70,000, $80,000 into them, go drive them, have a good time. That's what you put the money into them for. You know, there's no sense in putting $500,000 in a car and it sits in a guy's garage and never gets driven.
And that's the difference is you want to build cars that are drivable cars that people can enjoy behind the wheel, not trailer queen show ponies.
Well, because it is a hobby, like you say, and a hobby is something you do because you like to do it, whether it be fishing or whatever. In the automobile world, it's the same thing. You enjoy the driving experience about being around people, so you want to be part of it, and that's where you're going.
Right. You know, I mean, we've like my full-time mechanic shop, you know, I've got a full-time mechanic. So we'll have customers come in just for us to do mechanical work on them. And we won't do, you know, any paint work on them unless they ask. But, you know, I'd probably say we probably do about 6 or 7 a month that are just mechanical work, suspension, carburetor rebuild, which I heard you guys talking about. So, you know, stuff like that, just getting them running so they can go enjoy the cars.
Do you find some people bring you a car that might be a little unusual because of their emotional attachment to it?
We had a 51 5 window that we did a little over a year ago, and he came in and said, I said, what's your budget? And he said, I got about 35 grand. And I looked at him and I said, you're going to spend about 50. The problem with that vehicle is it was belonged to his wife's grandfather, so it had sentimental.
Yeah.
Sentimental is going to cost you.
Always does, doesn't it?
Why is that, Mark?
Well, because like in that case, they want to go back 100% original, right? So when you going back originality, trying to find every part that you need to make it go back 100% is tough. And some parts they don't remake, so you've got to improvise, or you've got to find other vehicles that you can take the parts off from. So the labor that it takes and the time to do the research to find the parts you need can really add up.
Yeah, it could be like a scavenger hunt, looking all over the country to find that one particular part. And that's basically what they're doing is they want to relive the memories they have associated with that car, so it's important to them to be restored.
Correct.
Yeah, that's the sentimental part. So let me ask you, Mark. So you got a good reputation for doing those kind of things, but so what happens whenever somebody has a vehicle that you've built and you've helped them, they're out, they enjoy it, but somebody runs a red light and pops them when they go in through the intersection, and they need the car repaired collision-wise.
Well, see, we can do that here. I'm on the Haggerty Collision Program, so even if somebody backed into them, they got a dent, which would be a quick little spot job for us. Like I've got a little 80 model Ford stepside in here right now that he got into a front end wreck, and we're fixing that through an insurance job. So they can be fixed. Most of your collision shops out there don't want to mess with them, and most of your restoration shops are so busy that they don't want to mess with them.
It's kind of
we've kind of taken that model that we'll throw it in here and we'll fix it.
Yeah, it's kind of like building a new house. It's much cheaper to build new than it is to redo an old house, and you got the same problem with the car. You got to figure out what. So I mean, if you did one, I understand. You might remember how you put it together and some of the work you put into it. What happens if somebody brings you one that's another shop built? They did it up in Connecticut, and they've moved to Houston, and now they're down here, and they need their vehicle repaired. Same thing.
Yeah, we can still do it. A lot of times, trying to find the colors or what they did to match the paint, if it's a custom color, or if they bought the car that was already redone and they wrecked it down here and nobody knows what the paint code was, then that makes it harder for us to try to figure out what is the color that's on the car and try to match it up 100%. But that's usually the hardest part about doing a classic collision. A lot of times when you do a classic collision, some of these cars, because they are just drivers, when we get done with them, the work that we've done is better than the rest of the vehicle. And then the customers will save monies and then later on come in and get the rest of the vehicle fixed.
Is that just because of time and age of the old paint versus your new paint?
Not necessarily, or whomever did the workmanship before wasn't up to
your standards.
We'll say our standards. Right. How's that?
Yeah. That's a good way to put it.
Yeah.
So would you recommend if somebody does get some custom work done on their car that they always retain or ask the shop for the paint formulation?
Correct. Absolutely. We do it all the time. So especially if I make a color, like Randy over at Paint House, he makes colors all the time.
Oh, yeah.
So if I make a color for a customer, we take the formula, we take a piece of metal, we do a spray out, write the formula on the backside, we clear coat over it so it can't get ruined, give it to the customer. That way they always have it. So if they sell the car or they get into a wreck or they move out of state, they have a paint code. So they can go to any paint company and get that color.
Oh, okay.
Nice.
Well, that's smart. I mean, but that's also a level of customer service, is you want to make sure that your customer can always get a repair done correctly if they need to.
By the way, Mark, I just wanted to make sure that I congratulated you on your new freeway that opened today.
Oh, jeez. Yeah, thanks.
Yeah.
Couldn't give two hoots about that.
No, I know that you couldn't, but for those of us that come out there, it's been decades in the making.
It's been a journey.
249 now goes out there to where Mark is, and you can get there easier. How's that?
A lot easier, actually.
Yeah, a lot easier.
You just got to pay to get there.
Well, Mark, it's great to talk to you as always. We thank you so much for joining us today, and let's stay in touch. Please let us know what your projects are. If you got something really neat and unusual, that kind of fits in with my lifestyle. So why don't you give me a call, and we'll get you on, let you talk about it.
All right. Thank you guys very much for having me on.
Thank you, Mark.
Thanks,
Mark
Mark.
Rancart with Sweet Rides. All right, coming up, Inside the Mystery Garage, and we're going to have our car review of the Mercedes-Benz Gle 450 after this.
GTG, BRB, OMW, be there in a few. You may think that these kinds of texts are fine because of their length, and you can easily send them at a stoplight. But no, answering one text can take your attention away from the road for 5 seconds. And traveling at 55 miles an hour, that's enough time to travel the length of a football field. Make good decisions. Don't text and drive.
Visit StopTextStopWrecks.org. A message brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, Project Yellow Light, Noise, and the Ad Council.
Texas Truck Works is your go-to truck customizer. From mild-to-wild lift kits, custom wheels, and steering and handling enhancements to the best personal and commercial wraps, Texas Truck Works delivers. Let Texas Truck Works founder Scott Stevens help you get the most out of your truck or Jeep. Texas Truck Works has decades of customizing experience, including power adders and complete engine swaps. Let the Texas Truck Works team design an upgrade plan that fits your budget. Get truck attitude today at TexasTruckWorks.com. Hey, it's your All Things Automotive Weekly Car Talk Show in Wheel Time. Reminder that we are live on the In Wheel Time website, on YouTube, and on Facebook each and every Saturday, 10 a.m. to noon Central. Thanks for riding with us today. Time now for Inside this week's Mystery Garage. So I swiped a few photographs from this guy called Car Guy Garage, and I thought that they were really fitting. So if you happen to have an outback building that's not necessarily attached to your house.
Oh, I love it.
Do you not love that? Now, that's our kind of stuff right there.
Love the checkerboard floor.
Well, that's only on one side. You'll notice that that's on the single car side, okay? So he's got plenty of room to work in this particular garage, but look at the signage. Look at all the stuff. Looks like he's got condom machines over there on the right-hand side. Well, maybe not condom machines, but
some sort of dispensing machine.
Send your comments to info@inwheeltime.com.
Well, I mean,
he's also got gas, a lot of gas signage, at least one gas pump, maybe more than one. But you know the tires. You know he has the stop sign. I wonder if that's the one I used in the back of my car.
Yeah, well, has it got a big divot cut out of the middle of it? Anyway, so the next one, I thought that this was really cute. This is the auto shop.
Oh, that's
cute.
I
like that. Yeah.
Do you like that? It's basically a freestanding building that he's got some overhang, so he's got the barbecue pits on the side.
Yeah.
Okay, and that looks like an old Volkswagen.
It looks like a Scirocco if I'm looking at it.
He's got a roll bar set up in it, and he's got some meat under it.
Yeah, and the only thing he's got hanging on the wall is a broom. I like it. It's clean, and the doors swing open.
Well, it's something that some of us could do if we can't do the first one.
There you go. So the last picture.
And Otto having the German relationship with the German car.
There you go.
So the last picture that we have is going to be that of an actual. Oh, we're having some sort. There it is.
There we go.
This was just too cool not to show this. So we got the corrugated metal siding down there. With the chair rail. Okay, so that's
the 50s
easy to
diner kind of seats.
And a table that's shoved up against the wall over there. But notice 2 cars in the garage.
Yeah.
A door to the outside and a door to the inside of the house. But look, every inch has got something on it. Yeah, including the good-looking chicks in there, too. So I'm sure that the wife is...
if you go into any mechanical repair shop, they always have a collection of calendars posted around. Some of them may be old calendars with pictures on them, but you know the Snap-on guy, the Cornwell guy, they always have some girly calendar to post up on.
Well, I think the one thing that you really need to focus in on, you might not be able to see it from where you are, but there is a sign on there right to the upper left-hand corner of the door that's closest to the center of the picture. It
says wife.
It says beware of wife.
Oh, beware of wife.
So apparently
that's
she's
the door.
in on it
That's
too.
the door into the house then.
So thanks to Car Guy Garage for those
and
pictures.
it looks
today.
like a 67 SS Camaro in the foregrounds with the waffle iron
they had some nice cars in there, but we all get that. All right, we're going to have a car review of the Mercedes-Benz Gle 450. Hear what I got to say about that coming up next.
A crying baby is impossible to ignore, but a quiet baby can be easy to forget. Every year, dozens of children lose their lives because otherwise attentive adults forgot they were in the back seat. It only takes a moment for a car to heat up to dangerous levels, even on cooler days. So get in the habit of always looking in the back seat and use reminders to ensure baby is always with you. Where's baby? Look before you lock. Paid for by NHTSA.
Social distancing slows the spread of coronavirus, so stay a minimum of 6 feet away from others and stay home if you can. More info at coronavirus.gov. Let's all do our part, because we're all #AloneTogether. Brought to you by the Ad Council.
Well, I don't know what happened to my music there, but it just didn't happen. So at any rate, welcome back to the In Wheel Time show. And if you're a member of a car, truck, or Jeep club, don't forget, we'd love to put your bunch in the Car Club spotlight. All you have to do is shoot us an email with the contact information to info@inwheeltime.com. That's where we send your complaints as well. Okay, time now for this hour's car review, and it's going to be the 2020 Mercedes-Benz Gle 450. You know, when I do these reviews, I have to tell you that I try to be as objective as I can. And I've always appreciated Mercedes-Benz, but like I tell everybody, German cars are German cars.
Yes, they are.
Japanese cars are Japanese, American are American, and all of the other ones that go in with that, Volvo, Sweden, all of that. So when I review these, I don't bring that to your attention, but there is a driving difference. There is a styling difference. There are certain things about these particular cars that they compete amongst themselves first. So BMW, Mercedes-Benz, the Germans compete against themselves first, and then they compete on a global stage.
Right, and they want to build them for the global stage, but still they've got those traits that because that's their heritage, their design heritage.
So this is the Mercedes-Benz Gle 450. That's one good-looking SUV. It comes in trim levels called the Gle 350, the 350 4MATIC, the 450 4MATIC, and the 580 4MATIC. Well, you can imagine the 580 is a hot rod. Okay, it's got a big motor in it. This one that I reviewed that you see there is the 450 4MATIC. It is a standard SUV according to the U.S. government. We call it a midsize SUV. It will hold up to 7 passengers if you get the optional third row. It's all new for 2020. Exterior features. You're going to like this, I think. Sexy body lines, wide booty. When you stand behind it, it looks like it's got baby got back is what it looks like. Well-balanced front fascia. Grill's not too big. It's not too small. It's just right. Nice wheel options, and just the overall look of the thing is really sweet. Huge Mercedes-Benz emblem in the grille, small integrated side step on the thing. You can see it there in that picture. What I liked about it, the overall exterior design, it's going to get at least a 9.5, if not a 10, from me. What could use improvement? Nothing that I can think of. I mean, I think that's a pretty sexy SUV if you ask me. Okay, moving to the interior. The dash display screen I want you to look. Can you see it there in that shot? It's huge. It's one screen that goes from the instrument cluster right on over.
Oh, is it really?
To the.
Oh, that's smart.
It's 2.5 feet long. It is really.
Kind of tie the two of them together.
It is so sexy. It's unbelievable. Small fingernail-sized mouse pads are on the left and right-hand sides of the steering wheel. I kept pressing them, and something would change, and it dawned on me. Oh, wait a minute! These are mouse pads. There's a really good shot of the instrument cluster and the infotainment screen. Infotainment screen on the right, instrument cluster on the left. Got that? Look at the size of that thing.
Yeah,
it's
it goes
almost
all the way across.
Yeah. It looks like
panoramic.
It looks like the new Space Dragon capsule. At any rate, so the small fingernail-sized mouse pads on the left and right sides of the steering wheel control some of those functions. Front speakers are integrated into the upper front door panels. Integrated grab handles on the center console. Rocket. Cargo trunk room, small with a third row. What I liked about it, the overall luxurious design and materials, and it's even got an air fragrance option in it as well. What could use improvement? Infotainment controls can be a bit intimidating at first. Lots of new tech on it, but after a week of lovemaking, you will get the screen and all of its details. The
You
engine.
you really enjoyed this car.
I did. 3-liter inline 6-cylinder turbocharged, 362 horsepower, 369 pound-feet of torque, 9-speed automatic transmission. Tow rating 7,700 pounds. So it'll tow it, baby.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
As for miles per gallon, 19 city, 24 highway for combined at 21. I got 23.5 over 319 miles.
That's not.
What I liked about that motor, smooth, baby. That inline, I am a huge fan of inline sixes.
Well, plus they tend to be quite torquey.
Yeah, and it was really nice. Ride and handling. Okay, chassis. This has got E-active body control that counteracts body roll in turns, kind of like you lean the motorcycle into the turn.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
This thing knows when it's going around a corner, and it will adjust the suspension to lean into it, so there's less G's pulling you to the side. It is cool, man. It is really cool. All right. Base trim price, $61,150. That's what you can get into it for. Prices tested, $76,480.
Not bad.
Base model price, $53,700. Okay, the competitors to this, BMW X5 with the X-Drive 340i, the Audi Q7, and the Lexus RX 350. They're all within all of that. So that is the review of the 2020 Mercedes-Benz Gle 450. We've got more of the In Wheel Time Car Show coming up, including this week's news headlines. And I don't have my act together over here because I've been flapping my jaw. And since I am your audio control guy, you're just going to hang tight, baby.
We are hanging.
Are you hanging with me?
We're with you.
Okay, because I think I've got it now. Oh, and I'm glad that I checked because it was not going to be a good thing. But we've got it. And
Is this the stretch, Don?
And we're going to play it.
GTG, BRB, OMW, be there in a few. You may think that these kinds of texts are fine because of their length, and you can easily send them at a stoplight. But no, answering one text can take your attention away from the road for 5 seconds. And traveling at 55 miles an hour, that's enough time to travel the length of a football field. Make good decisions. Don't text and drive.
Visit StopTextStopWrecks.org. A message brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, Project Yellow Light, Noise, and the Ad Council.
Texas Truck Works is your go-to truck customizer. From mild-to-wild lift kits, custom wheels, and steering and handling enhancements to the best personal and commercial wraps, Texas Truck Works delivers. Let Texas Truck Works founder Scott Stevens help you get the most out of your truck or Jeep. Texas Truck Works has decades of customizing experience, including power adders and complete engine swaps. Let the Texas Truck Works team design an upgrade plan that fits your budget. Get truck attitude today at TexasTruckWorks.com. Because we ran so far behind in our first segment, I had to juggle some things around.
Well, it wasn't running behind. It was a great interview with Mark Rancourt.
Yeah. Well, it was, and
good information.
It was, and we truly enjoy talking to Mark. He's a great guy. And
that's why we ran so long, is because we were having fun.
Well, we were late getting to him, and it was just a mess. But
things happen.
Things do happen. But Mark is one of those kind of guys. The trust factor is huge with Mark. He is not going to screw you over.
Oh, no. He's not the kind of shop that's going to grab you by the feet, turn you upside down, and shake all the money out of your pockets.
I was going to wait for you to say something other than feet, but that's okay.
So tell us a little bit of automotive news.
Okay. Are you ready?
Always.
I'm going to save that one for later and save this one for later. This is big news this week. Jim Hackett.
Yes.
Plans
is
to
that
retire.
Buddy Hackett's son?
No, I don't think he's a relation. Well, it could be a relationship to Buddy Hackett, Jim Hackett. He's going to retire October 1st as CEO of Ford Motor Company. Here goes another one after a 3-year tenure in which he empowered workers to make quicker decisions and started a board restructuring effort that hasn't yet bolstered profits.
Hasn't yet.
Hasn't yet.
But he got
3 years, but it's still not quite there.
But he's made a couple of $1 million every year.
A couple, yeah, you think. Jim Farley, remember that name?
Yes.
The old Toyota guy that we actually knew back in the day. He wouldn't know us from Adam now, nor would he care. Jim Farley, a former Toyota Motor Company executive and lifelong car enthusiast who was promoted to COO in February, which is not a title that is typically at Ford, they were grooming him for this.
Yes.
He's going to become Ford's third CEO since Alan Mulally left 6 years ago. Third.
Wow, that's a
if we could get
carousel
up
of
there
people.
for we could 6 months, we could retire.
6 months.
If we could work that job for 6 months,
If we could
like
work
that,
a day, we could retire. Are you kidding me?
You mean they get paid to do that?
It's unbelievable. How do you work your way up to that?
I don't know. I tried at General Motors and they didn't like me. I had too much of an opinion and it wasn't theirs.
That's why you wound up on this show that's full of opinions.
Yeah, it's full of something.
It is full of something. And we find it out every Saturday when we get together. This is great. It's no surprise, but I just wanted to go ahead and pat myself on the back. Advanced driver assistance technology that automates steering and braking in a growing number of vehicles is not providing reliable safety benefits, according to a new study by the American Automobile Association. And this research was released on Thursday. Researchers at AAA, a federation of North American motor clubs, found that the systems recorded disruptions and disengaged roughly 8 miles, every 8 miles, encountering situations that they were not equipped to handle.
Yikes.
While lane centering and changing technology worked better on a test course with clear lane markings, the systems accounted for 73% of all disengagements in real-world driving.
Well, and that just comes to the lack of infrastructure upkeep in the United States. All of those lines in the road sometimes aren't viewable by the camera system.
And guess who puts those lines on the road?
Our taxpayer dollars.
Bingo. Your government. And so now what?
Through fuel taxes. I'm not real sure where they spend them, but they surely aren't spending them where
on
they
the
tell
roads.
us. Yeah.
That's exactly right. Okay, one more story. Honda recalling more than 600,000 model year 2018 to 2020 Odyssey minivans and 2019 to 2020 Passport and 2019 to 2021 Pilot SUVs for safety-related issues that include malfunctioning dashboard and rear-view camera displays and sliding doors that may open while driving.
Oh, that'd be an interesting thing.
Hopefully the kids aren't down on the
Where'd Henry go?
Little hit. Yep, plump. There he goes, right out the door.
So you heard Dodge announce the price of the new Durango Hellcat.
I did not.
$80,995.
Okay.
Be a beast.
It will be a beast. Let's see. Dodge Durango Hellcat or the Mercedes-Benz Gle.
I got no. You don't ask me. I'm taking the Hellcat every time.
Yeah.
You are?
Well, because that's such a much bigger vehicle to drive and ride, and the tow capacity. I'm just saying.
Okay. You go for it.
If I got that kind of money, you can bet I would.
I think he's going to take the Mercedes.
I think I'm taking the dang Mercedes. I don't know about you.
I'll meet you at the red light, and we'll see.
Well, we've got more of
beat him at the red light.
Or beat me to it. Beat me to the red light.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that is it for this hour of the In Wheel Time Car Show. We've got hour number 2 waiting on the hanger, and here it comes.
A crying baby is impossible to ignore, but a quiet baby can be easy to forget. Every year, dozens of children lose their lives because otherwise attentive adults forgot they were in the back seat. It only takes a moment for a car to heat up to dangerous levels, even on cooler days. So get in the habit of always looking in the back seat and use reminders to ensure baby is always with you. Where's baby? Look before you lock. Paid for by NHTSA.
Social distancing slows the spread of coronavirus, so stay a minimum of 6 feet away from others and stay home if you can. More info at coronavirus.gov. Let's all do our part, because we're all #AloneTogether. Brought to you by the Ad Council.
From Studio A in Texas, it's hour number 2 of the All Things Automotive Car Talk Show in Wheel Time. Just ahead, best cars under $20,000 for teens. In our new car showroom, the 2020, what are you going to have, Mr. Mars?
I have got the new Gladiator Mojave edition.
Okay, the Gladiator. That's the Jeep truck. So we are going to take you for a ride into that a little bit later on. We also are going to have the events calendar, stories making automotive news headlines. We got a whole mess of stuff coming your way on this portion of the In Wheel Time Car Show for Saturday, August the 8th, 2020. I'm Innery the 8th. I am. I had to go
I
there.
thought you were only married 3 times. You've been married 8 times?
I think Texas is
I'm getting closer to death. That would have taken me to death.
I think 7's as far as you can go in Texas.
Yeah, is that right?
I think.
There's actually a limit.
I know a guy that actually got to 6, and he had to stop.
Are you serious?
Well, 3 of them were the same woman. That's what was so crazy.
What? That is just so wrong on every level. Yeah, that doesn't work at all.
I don't know who was crazier, him or her.
Let's get on with the interview.
Okay, shall we? Joining us right now is Jennifer Stockberger with Consumer Reports, and we're going to talk about the best cars for teens under $20,000. I'm not sure whether they're talking about the cars under 20 or the teens under 20.
It's definitely not the teens.
Teens are never under $20,000.
Jennifer, it's great to see you. Thanks so much for joining us. I know it's your Saturday day off, but we really appreciate you because, you know, this is that time of the year that parents, all parents, looking for cars for the kids to take off to either to go to high school with or to college with. And this is a perfect timing for this, and I know Consumer Reports does a great job.
Well, thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here. Yeah, so this list this year, good timing, but we also combined this year with the Insurance Institute for Highway Safety. So this list is kind of a collaboration of those that are crash worthy as well as reliable and good performing vehicles. So we kind of get a little bit of both.
Okay, so where do you start on a list like this?
Yeah, so we started, of course, on the Consumer Reports side, and we are selecting vehicles that kind of are at the top of their game for our reliability. Our reliability data comes from our members, and we get data this past year, for example, on over 400,000 vehicles that our members are driving and using. So these vehicles all are the top tier, better than average in terms of reliability. They are also good performers in our tests. Each of them has standard electronic stability control, certainly a great safety benefit for a young driver. And then when you go to the IHS side, the Insurance Institute, these are also vehicles that score very well for their crash worthiness evaluations and for the latest in terms of advanced safety features as well.
So this isn't just the stripper cars that really don't have anything in them and they may or may not be roadworthy. These are cars that you guys have actually researched. Well, actually, your members have researched and reported their findings to you. So it's not just a bunch of scientists or car guys in the back room going, yeah, we like that one, we don't like that one. It's not about that, really, is it?
It's a little bit of both. So the performance aspects do come from our tests at Consumer Reports Auto Test Center in Connecticut. So we've driven all of these cars and evaluated them among our, scientists, engineers, our jury of raters. But you're correct, the reliability part, what actual consumers are experiencing in terms of problem areas comes from our members in that survey that we do multiple times a year.
Yeah, because as a parent, I don't want to buy my child a car that winds up in the shop all the time, and I get those frantic phone calls at 2 o'clock in the morning, Dad, the car quit over here on the highway. What am I supposed to do?
Yeah,
absolutely. You don't want to pay more in repairs than you bought the car for sure. And you're right. You don't want your teen breaking down all the time. Again, their judgment, their experience is still evolving. So you want to get them home safely as often as you can.
So let's go down the list. How many cars are there?
There are 65 total.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah, so we won't do them all, but I can certainly give you some highlights because you'll see they're broken down by model year. The whole entire list is available at consumerreports.org to anyone. You don't have to be a member. Just Google Best Cars for Teens, Consumer Reports. But they're broken down into 2 categories, good choices and best choices. The good choices meet all of the criteria I said, good ratings in the standard test by IHS. The best choices are segregated in that they have a little bit better burden in that they're also meeting the most recent test criteria by the IHS, that small overlap driver's side test, kind of, you've drifted out of your lane and kind of hit somebody
off
not
center.
A full frontal collision, but kind of a small overlap, they call it. The best choices do well in that test as well. And also our significantly lower for insurance claim. So those are the extra criteria.
Does the age of the vehicle have play a part in this?
It does a little. So you'll see in the best choices list, they're a little newer because they're meeting the criteria of that newest test. They're a little more expensive. We were very conscious that when you're buying a car for a young driver, you don't want to break the bank. We, not only put the $20,000 cap, but if you look at the good choices list, many of those are under the $10,000.
Well, I have to tell you that right this week, and I'll review it here in a couple of weeks, the Nissan Versa that I just took delivery of yesterday, I really like that car, mainly for the price of it, but not only that, it's good looking. It's a four-door sedan. It's the latest state-of-the-art technology when it comes from Nissan, and a small, affordable car.
All of the safety features.
All the safety features, and it's got a nice radio in it, and I would definitely consider that. Now, I don't know whether that's on your list or not, but I like it.
Right. So you've highlighted kind of the whole crux of the matter, in that we don't have a lot of the smallest vehicles on the list. We've eliminated vehicles that have a gross vehicle weight of 2,750 pounds or less. And the reason is, and this is the hard balance for parents as well, is the risk for teen drivers in crashing is quite high. It's actually 4 times even a 20-year-old driver.
I know all about that, having raised 2 teenage girls. I listen. I got the blanket on that one. Yeah,
for sure. And I'm with you. I have a 16-year-old son, even more risky, driving currently on his learner's permit. So I hear you. But yeah, so the physics of it all. A lot of parents are saying, I'm going to put them in the biggest vehicle I can find because the mass differential is, should they be in a crash, will be better. But what we found is some of those largest vehicles aren't the best, as you guys know, in terms of handling, longer braking distances, all of that. So you will see the smallest vehicles, sub 2,750 pounds, and some of the largest. You won't see full-size pickups or large SUVs on the list. So we've kind of taken off both ends, and hopefully given a group of vehicles that are kind of that Goldilocks sweet spot in balancing performance, handling, safety with crashworthiness.
So how are we going to do this today with us and you? Are we going to pick the top 10 in the 2 categories?
Yeah, we certainly can. So there's no rank order within the categories, but we can certainly highlight a few on the list.
Let's do that.
Sure.
Go ahead. We'll take your lead.
Okay, so talk about small cars, for example. So again, small, but not less than 2,750 pounds. You will see things like a Toyota Corolla. And the reason I highlight the Corolla is the many, many years that are listed there. You'll see on the list that there's different model years. That's both the crash test data and the reliability years. Yeah. Not all cars are stellar in reliability every single year. The Toyota Corolla, 2012 or later. You are in a good position to get any model year of the Corolla after 2012. Yeah, so that's a lot of range, a lot of price range that you can deal with in terms of what you have to spend. Okay. We always say spend the most you can on safety, but again, you're talking about a young driver, so you can't always spend. You can only have what you have. The other car in that category is the Mazda 3. A few less model years, 2011 to 2013. But we were conscious that some of these cars are cool enough, if that makes sense. Kids will be okay driving. We're not giving them Grandpa's station wagon or Buick. We're giving them a pretty cool car in the Mazda 3 to select from. In terms of balancing something that we want them to drive as parents versus something they're feeling good enough about driving.
The Mazda 3 is kind of fits in that hot hatch category as well, so it draws a lot of youth to the visuals of that car.
They've got to have a little bit of buy-in in that. They've got to be able to want to drive it so that they'll take care of it and be more respectful of what they got. So they've got to want it. And be proud of it.
They probably don't want a Volvo 760.
Correct, right. Which, that's our inclination. We all want to put them in that. But, they do have to want it and not, and take care of it. You absolutely want to drive home the maintenance of these cars as they're driving them. So, yeah. and maybe even keep it clean if it looks good.
Once in a while, yeah, wash it.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's move on.
So again, we do have some mid-sized cars on there, not the ones they may want to drive, like the Toyota Camry. Same boat as the Corolla, many model years. Toyota too, and again, I'm preaching to the choir here to you guys. They're pretty quick with putting advanced safety on their vehicles. They were way ahead of the 2012 model year mandate for putting electronic stability control on many of their models. We're noting vehicles where it's standard equipment, not optional. So you see the Camry here, 2012 or newer, but there are even earlier model years of Toyotas.
But Toyota builds a dependable and durable car and has for a long time.
Absolutely. Other vehicles you see there, Subaru Outback. You know, that may not sound like a cool car, but a lot of young people, in terms of being recreational and outside and having, you know, bikes and snowboards and things like that, they actually enjoy the Outback, and the all-wheel drive, if you're in an area of snow, is just an added bonus for people who have winter driving to cope with. So that is there. And then, of course, small SUVs. Many years ago, our list didn't have a lot of SUVs, even small SUVs on it, because of the potential for rollover and risk. But electronic stability control, again, changed that equation. So we have things like the Hyundai Tucson, 2011 to 2015 Tucson. Again, pretty cute little small SUV that I think any young person would be happy to be in. Ford Escape is there, Kia Sportage, and then, of course, the Toyota RAV4. We have Toyota in there again.
I don't think that you can really go wrong with a Toyota, almost of any kind.
Yeah,
I've never heard anything negative about them. And let's face it, the Corolla is so popular, you're going to have many choices, year models and condition of the Corolla, whether it be, 30,000 miles on it, 20, 50, whatever the case may be. You got a pretty good hunch that it's going to last for you.
Yeah, Toyota still remains as kind of the top of the game in terms of overall reliability, both Toyota and Lexus in our surveys year over year. The other neat thing about vehicles like the Mazda 3 or some of the Subarus on the list is you can still get them with manual transmissions. So one of the things we have said is if you're shifting, a young driver shifting, perhaps they're not on their phone because they need both hands.
Got to have both hands.
Exactly. Well, that's funny you should say that because way back in the day, I bought my youngest daughter. It was a 2001 Ford Focus, and it was the cheapest car I could get. It was a two-door, black with a beige interior, but it had a 5-speed manual transmission. She still has that car and still shifting it today. It's in Denver, Colorado.
Yeah, and again, it's kind of a lost art, as you guys know. My son has just said, Mom, I think I want to get a manual. I think I want to learn to drive a manual.
Good for him.
Kind of good for him. I'm excited to teach him.
Are you going to teach him? I assume you know how to drive that manual.
I do. It's funny. My we're going back many years, unfortunately, but my dad required us to. We didn't only have to take our motor vehicle test. We had to take the dad test, which was a little more stringent.
Absolutely.
I had the same thing with my kids, particularly the girls. We had a Toyota Corolla with a 4-speed manual. You want to drive, you got to learn to drive that one. They all learned in it. They wouldn't touch it now, but they did learn it one time.
I taught both my kids how to drive a manual as well. I think it was very, very important. It happened to be a Z06 Corvette, but
it might surprise you. Sometimes we interview people for, Consumer Reports positions for, either automotive journalism or engineering positions. You'd be surprised at how many people don't know how. Even self-professed car people who don't know how to drive a manual.
And when you look at the industry, you can't get a manual transmission Lamborghini or Ferrari anymore. They all have that Manumatic dual clutch setup in them. So even the performance cars are moving away from it.
So I guess that the bottom line is here we go to consumerreports.org?
It is consumerreports.org, or Google Best Cars for Teens, Consumer Reports, and it will come up. The whole choice of 65 there you can choose from. And again, kind of the Goldilocks list, something you want them to drive, but something they
Well,
might
I
wanna
can't
drive
tell you
alone.
what a pleasure it is to talk to you, and the wealth of knowledge and the great information you got here on these cars under 20. Heck, we don't have to just narrow this down for teens. I think that this would be good for anybody, including yours
Exactly.
truly here.
Well, we agree. And we've certainly said during COVID, we see a lot of people opting for a used model. These are solid, reliable, safe vehicles for anybody.
Jennifer Stockberger, would you please stay in touch with us? And next time you've got something like this, would you give us a call and let's get on the air again?
I'd be happy to be back. That would be great.
All
Thanks
right.
so much.
Thank you. We
Thank
really
you.
appreciate you. Great information. We really appreciate it. That's Jennifer Stockberger with Consumer Reports. I love that.
Yeah.
65 cars. And
under 20,000
Yeah.
that meet not only Consumer Reports reliability data, but it also meets the insurance company's safety data. That's
And
pretty
you
cool.
got real world people having input in on this.
Yeah, 400,000 people are giving input on this. I think that's a
That's
pretty
great.
good database.
Yeah, I would say so. All right. Hey, reminder to be sure and stay in touch with us all week long by following us on Facebook, YouTube, and through InWheelTime.com. Each and every week, we invite you to join us for our live 2-hour show, 10 a.m. to noon Central. We'll be back with more of the In Wheel Time Car Show, and I just pray that I've got this queued up the right way. We'll be back with more of the In Wheel Time Car Show after this. Keep your fingers crossed.
As America gets back on the road, a lot of things have changed, but not the need for drivers to be safe. With that in mind, it's time to review our safe driving checklist. First, you're in your car. Check. You're sober. Check. You're wearing your seatbelt. Check. Your phone is put away. Check. Great. Make sure you follow the speed limit. And remember, law enforcement is enforcing traffic safety laws in our community to save lives. Paid for by NHTSA.
Well, look what the cat drug in. It would be our long-lost chief engineer, Mr. David Ainsley. There he is, ladies and gentlemen. And he's not bent over the console.
Well, he was bent over. I had the wrong angle of that one. Thanks, Dave.
Showing us what kind of underwear he's wearing today.
Plumber's smile.
Yeah,
He's been on vacation, so he's better now.
Yeah, and
Showing us the tan line.
The tan lines, yes. So he's been away. Thank you for coming. We appreciate it. It's always good to see you, sir. And before we get to this hour's car review, which Mr. Mars has, the Gladiator, I had to do just one more little snipe at Craftsman Tools.
Did you get a reply from them?
No, of course not. I didn't get a reply from them. Are you
Yes,
kidding?
you did. It was.
Yeah. And whatever the woman is that has the bun in her hair that wrote the standard reply, we're not paying you for anything, and you're not going to get a damned torque wrench. Okay, fine. Well, guess what I did?
You went and bought a new Craftsman torque wrench.
I did not.
Oh.
But I just happened to open my Hot Rod magazine, and in it is a 2-page ad for Harbor Freight. Guess what? Can you read that? I'll let you read that.
Well, there's things I like at Harbor Freight.
Okay, it's a coupon.
A click-type torque wrench with a coupon at Harbor Freight for $9.99. You'd have spent more than that sending your Craftsman back in shipping expense.
Yeah. Hey, Craftsman, screw you.
Torque this, right?
Yeah.
So you're going to go to Harbor Freight and buy one?
Hell yeah.
Just don't buy any
I'm going to
car
clip out
stands.
lots of these. I'm going to buy them all up, and I'm going to send one of them to Craftsman and say, here you go.
Merry Christmas.
Yeah,
we
Merry
need to
Christmas.
get Jeff to get a hold of Harbor Freight. Maybe they might want to advertise on the show.
And we've got a particular place for you to put that torque wrench when you get it.
Send your comments to info@inwheeltime.com.
So time now for this hour's car review. Now that I've
It's a hard act to follow. That's all I'm
feeling
gonna
really
say.
a lot better now. It's like I've been to therapy. Time now for this hour's car review. Mr. Mars has the Gladiator.
We're talking about the 2020 Jeep Gladiator with the Mojave trim level on it. Now, this is the midsize pickup that Jeep came out with to put in that segment. It's really, people look at it, and originally they thought, okay, well, this is just a Wrangler with a pickup bed on it. It is not. True enough, the inside, the cab area, the passenger space, very much Jeep Wrangler, but it's longer, it's wider, got a different front end on it, it's got the bed on the back of it, it's got a different suspension under it because of all that. So it's not a Wrangler with a truck bed on it, but it is a mid-sized pickup truck. Does haul, technically, it'll haul 5 people. You're going to be much more comfortable with 4. But when you look at it, you're going to see that you've got the 7-slot grill up front that's standard on Jeep. We had it in the firecracker red paint. And we also had the 3-piece black hardtop with a rear sliding window, which we thought was kind of unusual on a Jeep. But it worked really well considering what all we were doing, and it is a truck. We had the LED lighting package all the way around, including turn signals. We had the Mopar side assist steps, and it's really a rock slider because of this vehicle is trail rated, off-road. You're going to find all the skid plates for the transmission, the front differential, the rear differential. And because we had the Mojave edition. Now this brings in some more additional off-road features like Fox shock straight from the factory, Dana 44s up front and in the rear, 410 gears in this thing, so it'll do some serious crawling. It's very much like a Rubicon, but it's not quite to the Rubicon level. It's kind of in between. So the other thing that's great about it, it's got a cargo management system in the bed. So it's got the rails on it so that it's adjustable so that you can
strap things down.
It's got a tonneau cover on it. Came with 33-inch mud terrain tires on it with body-colored fender flares. Just a lot of Mojave badging, just a lot of things that set it apart differently. You get into the interior, again, you're in that passenger space, and you're going to have what?
No, please continue on.
You're going to have the Wrangler. A lot of things you're going to see are very Wrangler-esque in it, and we had the premium cloth seats with the sport bolsters, and the heated seats were up front.
Well, see, that's Don's in favor of the cloth seats.
Yes.
You know, I actually prefer leather, and I know they offer a trim level with leather.
I would, but these were very comfortable. You didn't feel like you were in cloth seats. You know, they really felt pretty good. So it had the 8.4-inch Uconnect screen that was in it, so that was really nice to have that large one. And it also has the rear. That's where you're going to find the rear camera, but it also has the front camera that they call a trail camera, so that when you're out and about, you can see what's up right in front of you. A lot of storage options, including a lockable under the rear seat place. And we had the Alpine Premium audio system in it, and it was nice.
Jam into
it. And then when you get to the engine, you go up underneath the hood, you're going to find that you've got the rock-solid 3.6-liter V6, something that FCA's used across a lot of vehicles. This thing is a workhorse. It's rock-solid, 285 horsepower, 260 pound-feet of torque at 4,400 RPM. 8-speed automatic that works great with this engine in several different levels, including this one. Now, this vehicle will tow 7,650 pounds.
Oh, that's a lot.
So it will haul some stuff. And the haul rating that you can put in the bed of it, if you can put it in there, 1,600 pounds. So it's every bit a truck that's got all this off-road capability that Jeep is known for.
Could we back up just a minute? Did you say if we could put it in there?
Well, 1,600 pounds. I mean, you got to have to get it in the bed itself. You got to get that much weight in there. I mean, you can't go put your.
You could forklift something in there.
Yeah. Oh yeah. But you could. I don't think you could fit a quad runner in there.
No, but you could put a pallet in there.
Yeah, you could put a pallet. I'm just saying whatever it is, it's physically got to fit in the box bed.
Okay.
Even though it can weigh 1,600 pounds.
I just wanted to clarify that.
Yeah, I understand. And one of the great things about it, the EPA says, not so great, the EPA says you should be looking for 17 in the city, 22 on the highway, combined 19. Now, the week I had it, I only got about 18.
Can you say
that's okay?
Well, wait. Can you say I've got 410 gears?
410
You don't get 410 gears if you want to get fuel economy.
That's right.
You don't even gears if you want to do something.
You want to climb buildings.
Right.
So one of the great things about it, though, it has the 5-link coil suspension in the front and the back to go along with those Danas. Now, a lot of that's designed for the off-road capability of it. But out on the highway, with the longer wheelbase of the Gladiator versus the Wrangler, it also makes a difference in the way this vehicle rides and drives. It is firm. It is very much an off-road vehicle. It is very firm. Across a 200-mile run down the Interstate 10, you're going to know you were in a truck.
Did you take Becky for a ride up and down the beach with it?
Yes, I did.
Say hi to Becky.
And
she's
the beach
watching.
was fine. And then, just the highway, you're in a truck. If you're going to compare it to something in that mid-size segment that's kind of over the last few years, we've talked about it often, how it's kind of grown back. You got the Colorado from Chevrolet that's going to start at about 28, or GMC, start at 28,700. Got the Ford Ranger that's out starting at 28,570, and the Tacoma at 29,125. Now, a base Gladiator is going to cost you $33,545 because you cannot get one that's not trail rated. So you're going to have a lot of features.
It's already got content.
Yeah. Now, these other vehicles, that is a 4x4, but that's not necessarily everything they got. Now, the base Mojave with all the features, socks, and everything that we talked about. $43,875 is your starting point. Our MSRP is tested, $58,860 as tested for a fully trail-rated, off-road, awesome-looking 4x4 truck.
Good-looking truck.
All right. Thank you, sir. It's the In Wheel Time Talk Show. Hey, be sure and join us for our live show every Saturday, 10 to noon Central Time. Thanks for riding along with us today.
There's no greater pain a parent can suffer than losing a child. And yet, heat stroke deaths in hot cars are on the rise. The temperature inside a vehicle can reach deadly levels in just a few minutes. Leaving windows cracked does not help. These preventable deaths can occur even when the outside temperature is as low as 57 degrees. Never leave your baby or child in a vehicle, even for a short period, and always check the back seat before you get out of the car. Where's baby? Look before you lock. Paid for by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration.
Social distancing slows the spread of coronavirus, so we should all stay home to lower the risk for everyone. More info at coronavirus.gov. Let's all do our part, because we're all #AloneTogether. Brought to you by the Ad Council.
Hey, it's the In Wheel Time Talk Show. This kind of reminds me of some 50s game show when they're pausing so, the contestant can walk off stage or they come back on stage.
Okay. Going to the soundproof room.
Yeah, it's one of those kind of things. Anyway, it's the In Wheel Time Talk Show for cars, trucks, and SUVs, and time now for this week in automotive history.
So this week in 1882,
I remember that year.
I'm sure you do. Standard Oil Company was established as part of the Standard Oil Trust, one of the Rockefeller Group things, one of the things that made Rockefeller so wealthy. In 1900, Firestone Tire and Rubber was established in Akron, Ohio. 8 years after that, Firestone was chosen by Henry Ford as the sole provider of tires for the Model T. 15 million cars later, Firestone's still in business just because they had all the Model T business back then. In 1914, the first traffic light was installed at an intersection in Cleveland, Ohio.
And the first person went right through it, didn't know what it was.
Had no clue what it was.
No, well, look, did you see that?
In 1932, Richard Hollingshead first registered his patent for a drive-in movie theater.
A patent for a drive-in movie?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Ferdinand Porsche was released from the French prison at the conclusion of World War II because he was actually an engineer that worked for the German side of things. So in 1947,
he was a Nazi.
Ferdinand was released from prison.
I did not know that.
I didn't either.
And then in 1957, the Chevrolet Corporation registered the name Corvair for its new rear-engine compact
59?
car. No, 57, they registered the name. 59 was when the vehicle was first released.
60, they registered later.
And in 1977, The Spy Who Loved Me, starring Roger Moore, was released. And if you remember, that was the movie that had the Lotus Esprit sports car, the white one that also turned into a submarine. I thought there was a little automotive link to that. In 1987, on this day, was the fastest race in IndyCar history. At the Michigan 500, they averaged 171.5 miles an hour for the entire 500-mile race. It's pretty quick.
Did they have any yellow flags? Apparently a couple.
Apparently not very many then.
No, it couldn't have been much.
In 2000 this week, 8 weeks to the day after fourth-generation NASCAR driver Adam Petty, who's the son of Kyle Petty, who's the son of Richard Petty, who's the son of, I don't remember the father's first name.
Whatever.
He was killed at New Hampshire Speedway, and then Kenny Irwin Jr. died basically at the same spot, and both of their fatalities drove the safer barrier program within NASCAR as NASCAR developed what you would call a soft wall, and then that's expanded onto lots and lots of other motorsports programs. What kind of events are going on this week as well? Lone Star Diesel Meets is tonight at 6 p.m. in Alvin. Also at 6 p.m. tonight is Chuck Wagon Barbecue in Katy. 6 p.m. is the Kima Car Show and Meet. And Sunday is the All-American Muscle Meet at Kroger's on 99 in Spring. And then Sunday night at Freddy's on 1960 in Eldridge. Next Wednesday at Freddy's in Katy. And next Friday at Freddy's on Kirkendall in 2920.
Hey, remember, if you got a question or comment, shoot us an email. info@InWheelTime is the address. We're going to talk to the cops next. This is the In Wheel Time Car Show.
Do you know what teens just love? Not being told what you're supposed to love. That's not anyone's business but yours. It doesn't matter what you love, but if you love it, click it. That includes you too. Because in 2018, 42% of Texas teens who died in traffic crashes were not wearing their seatbelts. Make sure everyone is buckled up. Every rider, every ride. Brought to you by the Texas Department of Transportation.
Texas Truck Works is your go-to truck customizer. From mild-to-wild lift kits, custom wheels, and steering and handling enhancements to the best personal and commercial wraps, Texas Truck Works delivers. Let Texas Truck Works founder Scott Stevens help you get the most out of your truck or Jeep. Texas Truck Works has decades of customizing experience, including power adders and complete engine swaps. Let the Texas Truck Works team design an upgrade plan that fits your budget. Get truck attitude today at TexasTruckWorks.com. Hey, everybody. It's In Wheel Time, your weekly award-winning live car talk show. Just ahead, Conrad's Car Clinic, the events calendar, and today's auto news headlines, and a special guest from the Department of Public Safety, the DPS, the state trooper that we all love to hang out with, Steve Woodard, along with Mike Out of This World Mars and King Conrad DeLong. I'm Don Armstrong. So glad you could join us today. And as a matter of fact, he's there now, and I can see him here. His name is Sergeant Steve Woodard. Steve, it's been years since I've seen you. Actually, that's not true, Steve. I have seen you, but I'm usually flying over the top of you at some terrible accident or some mayhem going on somewhere. Good.
What's going on, my friend?
Hey, you are going on, my friend. It's so good to see you, Steve. So we wanted to talk to you today about, we wanted to talk to you about the new law updates that I guess take effect September 1st. But also, before we get started with all of that, I wanted to say to you, are you aware of what's going on the freeways and on the tollways with cars passing me doing 120 miles an hour these days with the lack of traffic?
Well, everybody's in a hurry.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to get together a speed campaign because the speeds have increased. Look, they're passing me.
They're passing you in a march. Are they passing you in a march car?
That's a man with guts there.
Yeah, in a black and white state trooper car. I was coming to the office this morning, and a motorcycle was about to run the stop light right near my office. And when he drove on the shoulder, and he noticed me, and he just stopped. And people are everyone's in a hurry right now, and I think a lot of folks are taking advantage of, the situation, this crazy situation that we're in right now. But yes. I'm telling you here today, the fatalities have not reduced. You talk about cases like Missouri County, especially Harris County, all those neighboring counties that you fly over, people are dying. And just turn on your news stations, whatever station you look at or observe, people are dying in these crashes. And we just want folks to be mindful.
So even as the traffic's down, because the speed up, the fatality rates stayed the same.
Well, hey, if you see a clear roadway, take advantage of it. Now, I didn't say take advantage of it, but, that's what people are doing. They're seeing a clear roadway, and they're stepping on it.
I came over from Beaumont this morning. I was telling the guys, it's 6:30 in the morning, Interstate 10. I'm in a line of traffic doing 80 miles an hour. I'm getting past.
Yeah.
And
it's just unbelievable.
And he's driving a bright red wide body Challenger with 500 horsepower.
So it's just
Yeah, would you like? If you want the license plate number, we'll run out and get it for you right now. But
This
Steve,
is what friends are for.
I wanted to ask you, are there less troopers available? I mean, you guys got less in the ranks. I mean, I'm just not seeing as many police running traffic safety stuff out there these days.
Well, what a lot of people don't know, your Texas State Troopers, you know, we're pulled in a lot of directions.
Yeah.
For instance, just last week, we had to send 600 troopers to the Austin area. That were planned up there, and amongst other things, if there's a major need in a particular city, we send our troopers down from all over to help out because, you know, we're the police for the state. And when you go to a small town that only has 10, 20, 200 troopers, 200 officers within the city, etc., we go where the need is. Troopers out, again, you know, this is a big state, and sometimes, you know, where the problem exists, we're not there.
Yeah, I mean,
it's so cliche. You know, when the cat's play, the mic will play.
God bless you guys for doing that. We really appreciate it and love you.
Well, and let me just add to that, and the fact that when all of the craziness was going on, like for instance in downtown Houston, there were a lot of state police helping the Houston Police Department, the constables, the sheriffs, trying to maintain some sort of civility in the downtown Houston area. And
I thought they did a great job.
They did a
awesome job.
Yeah, fabulous job. But to reinforce, and you know, we forget things like that. And I'm glad that Steve brought that up because yes, when there is a big issue, they'll send a whole bunch of state troopers to wherever the issue is. You know, if somebody calls for help, hey, state troopers are there, man.
Yeah, we don't really think a lot about them being the state police, you know, that they do a lot of different things besides traffic. And, you know, because that's generally where we see them in the black and whites. But like you said, they are the police department for the state, and they go where they're needed.
Yeah. So I hear where you're coming from, Steve. So let's shift gears here now that I've had my complaints with the complaint department. And let me just go ahead and ask you, let's talk about the law updates coming up September 1st. I guess the legislature passed, they always do every year, some new stuff. And I assume that you've got some info for us.
You know, on the books, a lot of the things that were changed pertained to our truck drivers. But a lot of our general laws pretty much stayed the same. I will say this, with all of our kiddos kind of hanging out at home throughout this pandemic, we're seeing a rise in DWI incidents. And I will say that the state did bump up the monetary fine for DWI. But regardless of what the fine is, you know, those DWIs or DUIs, it can cost you your life. I always like to cliche to folks that a DUI is different from a DWI. In the state of California and other states like Mississippi, etc., they just use DUI. But here in this state, DWI, driving while intoxicated, and DUI, driving under influence, that particularly pertains to a minor. And I just want to let all of our parents and grandparents be mindful that for a kiddo that's under the age of 21 years of age, we only need a detectable amount of alcohol on the breath. Why am I talking about DWIs? The influx of kiddos coming into the driver's license office to get a license rapidly increased. Now, we have a new system now for the driver's license office right now, and I'll go over that in a minute. But everybody's trying to get their kiddo behind the wheel, whether that's through a driver's ed program or whatever the case may be. But we're not harping on the dangers of driving under the influence. And you don't have to be intoxicated. That individual under 21 years of age, you don't have to be intoxicated to get a DUI. We just need to smell it. And we need to continuously educate our kiddos on that. In this state, you know, parents are liable if they provide alcohol to You could hold a party at your house and provide alcohol to your team, but no one else's. And we're just seeing those incidents on the roadway with our kids. We have to continue to educate them. We can buy the fancy cars. I see a kid, as a matter of fact, at the golf course Thursday. He pulls in, has a jacked up F-250 King Ranch. I think it was looked like a 2000, no later than the 2016. I mean, laid out. A lot of parents are going all out for their kids and getting, those pertinent and safe vehicles or whatever the case may be. But we need to make sure that their mind is clear to operate the motor vehicle.
Steve, you got kids. How old are your kids now?
Oh, they're still young. That oldest boy, he's 15, going on 16. Bless his heart. And when I get home, that yard better be cut. Look, hey, Brother Mars, you're laughing. I'm serious.
Oh, I've been there, done that. Mine are a little older than that now.
Yeah.
Good grief.
So are you teaching this poor boy how to drive?
Yeah. Let me tell you something. That's scary.
Yeah, it is. And let me just say this. We know Steve is a state trooper, but we take the uniform and the badge off of him, he's a dad.
Yeah.
And it's a different world.
It's a whole different world. And I'll tell you, Dad does, regardless of his job, he's still a dad. And a dad's got to do what a dad's got to do. Well, we wish you the best of luck on that, getting that one trained. And I know that you'll do a great job.
Thank you. Hey, did you know this? Did you know in our driver's license offices? Well, first of all, about 700,000 people were in that window here in the state that had an expired DL, expired driver's license. And now we've made the driver's license experience, I guess, more convenient, if you will. So when you go, let's just say if you have a driver's license issue that you need to take care of. You pass by those driver's license offices and you've seen those lines from the front door all the way to the road. You've seen that.
Yep.
Yeah.
Now we have an appointment system. And that appointment system is basically you go online, you set the particular date and time. They'll give you that date and time. You go in. We get folks to meet at the driver's license office 30 minutes ahead of their appointment, and you're seen. Very, very convenient.
Steve,
so amount of customers.
So I have to ask you, my driver's license is due about the middle of December. My renewal is due. So do I have to go to an office or can I do it online?
All right, let me ask you this. Do you have a star on your driver's license? You're already a star.
Yeah, I've got the gold star. I think it's for age. I'm not sure, but yes, I do have the gold star.
All right, very good. So we tell folks, a large percentage of those transactions can be done online. That's just something you would have to go on the site to see if you fill under the criteria. You make care of online.
Good. Well, and so what is the address, Steve, online?
Simple. Texas DPA. Once you go to that site,
Steve, you're cutting in and out so bad. I'm thinking maybe that we do some sort of a signing or something. But run that by me one more time.
Okay. TexasDBS.org.gov. When you go to that site, the top left-hand corner, it'll say driver's license, and it'll point you in the right direction. Every question known to man about a Texas driver's license is on that site.
Including the one, Steve, how big are your feet? What size shoe do you wear? I bet you we could answer that on there, too.
I put the link up on our Facebook page.
So. Yeah.
Oh, Lord.
Thank you so much. And look, we get this question all the time. Look, don't fret. Every station is cleaned after every customer. You have to wear a mask when going in, and we try to make it a comfortable environment and a smooth environment for you. But ensure that you bring your proper documents. You'd be surprised how many folks come to the driver's license office and they're turned around because they don't have their birth certificate, etc. So the website will point you in the right direction for that.
Listen, they didn't even make birth certificates back when I was born. But at any rate, Steve, I love you. Thank you so much. It's great to see you, and we wish you the best of luck with that 15-year-old. And you stay safe out there, you hear?
Thank you for what you do.
Hey, I will. Well, look, I listened and observed a police chase in California, and the news guy calling it.
Well, I'm sure that this is a compliment, but it's perfect because all I can think of. Yeah. So yeah, you're Steve. If you are you talking to me from the office?
You know the law enforcement on the ground. We call you the velvet voice.
Oh, there you go. That's it. So are you talking to me from the office today?
I am.
That's what it is. The state didn't get the gold package when they got the internet, and that's what the problem is. But Steve, it's great to talk to you. We love you. Take care. We'll talk to you again soon.
Thanks.
Good. Steve Woodard.
Always fun to have on
It
the
is
show.
always good. And, it's a rarity that we get to talk to him because you have no clue. We have him scheduled more often than you even know.
Oh,
and at the last minute, he can't talk because he's out on a job.
You got to go here. You got to go there.
Well,
emergencies.
we're not the priority on his schedule.
I have to
Thank
tell
God
you,
Texas is.
One day we wound up landing over there because we had to kill some time and we didn't need to go to an airport. And one of our pilots, Mike, the former HPD guy. Anyway, so we landed over there. Now, I don't know any of the helicopter division people over there, but he does. And so we went inside and hung out over there for a little while. And so as I was walking in the door, coming from the building, going, is that's Steve Woodard. I go up there and I said, sir, you have no... Don, what are you doing out here?
He is so much fun to be around.
He is. So we, exchanged hugs when we could do that sort of thing. And
back in the day.
Yeah, and had a short chat. But
and his son better have the yard mowed.
He better have the... That's exactly right. It's funny because when I do fly over the bad accidents and stuff, many times I will see him down there. And you could tell it's Steve.
Oh well, yeah. As a supervisor, I'm sure he goes to a lot of stuff that he'd rather not see.
Right. Well, thank you for that. Time for a quick break. The In Wheel Time Car Show streams on Facebook, YouTube, and InWheelTime.com. We are all things automotive, and we invite you to join our live broadcast every Saturday, 10 a.m. to noon Central. Conrad's Car Clinic coming up next. We hope if Don Armstrong can press the right buttons.
Dude, you may want to slow down. There's a cop car up there. Hey, man, there's another cop. I'd think about putting your seatbelt on if I were you. And if you could sober up in less than 5 seconds, that'd be cool, too.
As America gets back on the road, a lot of things have changed, but not the need for drivers to be safe. Cops are enforcing traffic safety laws in our community to save lives. Paid for by NHTSA.
That was rather a timely commercial, didn't you think? Yeah. Hey, man, there's a cop up there.
You'd almost think we'd planned it that way.
Yeah, exactly.
Welcome back.
We didn't. Well, no, we didn't. Welcome back to the In Wheel Time Car Show. Remember, you can always shoot us an email, info@inwheeltime.com. Time now for Conrad's Car Clinic for this week. What are you talking about this week?
Well, since we were talking about restoring old cars, I kind of wanted to talk a little bit about some unique maintenance issues on some older cars that you really got to pay attention
like a 2001 Corvette?
No, even older than that. I'm talking about, let's go back to the 70s model cars like mine and some things that are unique to those cars that you don't have to mess with on newer cars. Cooling system service, relatively the same on those, but you got to pay a lot more attention to leaks.
How often should you change your coolant in your car?
I'm going to tell you every 2 to 3 years, every 30,000 miles. I think that makes sense to change the coolant. It doesn't hurt anything. It makes somebody put their eyes on your cooling system.
Because my cooling system on the 2001 Corvette, the coolant looks clear, it looks good, but it might not necessarily be, is what you're saying.
Because as the coolant ages, it becomes acidic, and as it becomes acidic, it starts to eat the softest material inside the engine. Tends to be intake gaskets. Now, hoses of my generation car of the 70s versus hoses of today, vastly different. You know, the hoses of my generation car, you really had to pay a lot of attention to.
Yes.
Now the hoses are made out of nitrile and all these composite materials. Really, it's a rarity that a hose fails unless something rubs into it or something.
Right.
So, you know, that's one thing. And then in my generation car, you had to pay attention to things that might rust. There's a water valve that would turn the water off to the heater core. Well, those would rust over time and create a leak, so you got to kind of put your eyes on that. The other thing is when you're checking the battery on an older car, I mean, I'm talking an older car, there were actually little caps that you had to take off and top it off with distilled water. Well, that's not necessary anymore because everybody's gone to maintenance-free batteries. But if you have a true older car that still has those kinds of batteries, you want to make sure you keep the water level up in them. Air conditioning systems, you know, make sure it's got the proper fill of refrigerant. Older cars actually have a sight glass on them that you can look at, and you want to see clear sight glass. You don't want to see bubbles passing through it. Bubbles passing through it means that it's a little bit low on refrigerant, and you want to make sure that you use the correct oil in those as well. So, again, little things you can do on older cars. Air filters. Engines are basically an air pump. If the filter's restricted, you slow down the effectiveness of the engine, so make sure your air filters are clean. Engine belts. You know, today everybody's got a serpentine belt. Basically, one belt is on the car that drives everything. Back on mine, I've got 3 belts on mine, and there were some generation cars back then that may have had 4 belts. You have a belt for the air conditioning, you have a belt for the water pump, you have a belt for the power steering. You know, so all of those separate belts you needed to have tightened correctly, and you don't want to over tighten one of them because then you can cause some damage to the water
Do they
pump.
make retro kits that you could put on your car for a serpentine belt?
Oh, absolutely they do. Absolutely they do.
So you could do that.
Yeah, and then you get, that, and then you're going to end up having to put electric fans on it as well. Actually, my car keeps very, very good temperature. I'm generally
Don't jack with it.
Yeah, I'm generally in the 180 to 190, even in traffic and stuff. But again, you still, in the older cars, you got to pay attention to the belts. And those are the old V-drive belts, not the big wide serpentines. So they do stretch over time. You need to keep them tight, but you don't want to over-tighten them. And there's a belt tensioner that you could buy to check.
That's cheap over at Harbor Freight.
At Harbor Freight. Don't get the Craftsman one.
No.
And then, inspect your tires for air pressure, tread, checking or crazing on the sidewalls, and the overall age of the tires. And I called Jeff last week, I think. And so I was having a slow leak in the rally and took it to Discount Tire, and the guy checked the age of my tires. They're 10 years old.
That could be the problem.
Well, they also told me that we won't service a 10-year-old tire. So the tires on one side of my car are 10 years old. The tires on the left side of my car are 9 years old. Don't know why, but so they went ahead and fixed the nail that was in that tire. But I need to just buy new tires.
In the 9-year-old tire.
And I talked to Jeff, and he said, you just need to buy new tires. So I got permission from Angela to buy new tires. Find you a good sunshade. Because the sunshade is going to do not only keep the interior temperature down, it's going to protect the interior plastic, the dash pad so that the sun doesn't eat it up, the seating material, and the headliner. Back in the 80s, I dealt with a customer that brought their car in like 2 or 3 different times for this line that was in the headliner. And I'm like, what do you mean line? And I was blaming them for scratching it with something. And come to find out, after we sat the car and looked at it and created that line, I think we let it sit there for like 3 days, and created that line in this headliner. It was the reflection of the sun off of the chrome.
Oh my God, that's a Don Armstrong right there.
Off of the chrome of the seatbelt buckle, and when it laid a certain way and the sun passed over it, that kind of like using a magnifying glass and creating fire, it created a line in his headliner.
Way to go.
The minor things you find out. So there's still some specific things you have to do on older cars as well.
All right. Well, thank you, sir. We've got some automotive news headlines that we want to get to. We're going to do that right after this.
Uh-oh, Brad's buzzed.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, he's starting with the woots. And now a speech.
I just want to say that friendship is about heart and brain. Who's with me?
Good thing is, he knows when he's buzzed.
And my brain is saying, when it's time to go home, somebody call me a ride.
Love that guy.
Me too.
Know your buzzed warning signs? Call for a ride when it's time to go home. Buzz driving is drunk driving. A message from NHTSA and the Ad Council.
A social distancing tip.
While the CDC urges you to avoid close contact, like hugging or shaking hands, there are other non-physical ways to say hello. Wave, wink, use sign language, salute, smile, give the peace sign, throw up an air high five, do jazz hands. Remember, stay a minimum of 6 feet or 2 arms length away from others, and stay home if you can. For more info, visit coronavirus.gov.
You know that we've all been waiting for you
Let's
to do
all do
that
our
all
part.
day.
Because we're all
my fan base out
alone
there is
together.
asking for it.
Brought to you by the Ad Council.
Both of them.
Yeah, both of them. We've been waiting for him to do the jazz hands. Let me see the jazz hands. The blink, the wave, the nod.
The fist bump, the air fist bump. Now it's the air fist bump. They don't even want you to contact
I could
your
come
fist.
up with all sorts of different things. Thanks for joining us on today's In Wheel Time Car Show. A couple of stories that I wanted to bring to you before we had to say goodbye. The coronavirus pandemic has delayed the start of production of Ferrari's first plug-in hybrid, the 986 horsepower SF90 Stradale. Stradale, Stradale.
It's a Texan thing.
It's Italian. Well, you ain't going to call it a Stradale or a Straddle.
Strudel.
A strudel.
No, that would be a German car.
That would be, you got.
Can I finish the story now?
Please do.
Right.
980 horsepower.
So, because of the coronavirus, it's going to come out in the. It was supposed to be out in the first half of 2020. Now, it's going to be a while.
Changes my plans, that's for sure.
I know that. Yes, it does. I know because I know that you were going to go right out and buy one. Here's a very interesting story. This is kind of a story, pre-story story. Okay. And no, it doesn't have anything to do with Newton meters.
Pre-story.
But I did look up Newton meters. We're going to ask our chief engineer, David. Do you know what a Newton meter is? You do?
It's this little cookie with the fig in the middle.
Little wraparound cookie sandwich.
No, that's a Newton eater.
Oh, my God.
Oh, we've lost control.
Completely off the track. Fiat Chrysler is considering a recall of about 1 million vehicles.
That'll be costly.
In the United States, equipped with the company's 2.4-liter Tiger Shark engine because they may emit excess tailpipe emissions.
It's Shark Week. What perfect timing for this.
They haven't done it yet, but they're getting there. So FCA said the excess emissions were discovered during internal routine testing and that it has notified the EPA of the potential issue. Upon completion of the work, we intend to review our proposed solution with the EPA and will likely initiate a recall campaign, FCA said in a filing saying.
So this is a disclaimer for the recall that's fixing to come up.
It's a precursor to
We've
the
turned
recall.
ourselves in, unlike others.
Yeah, exactly. In a report released last year, the EPA found 86 recalls for emissions-related defects, affecting roughly 4.9 million light-duty vehicles in the U.S. in 2017. And it just continues on. You know, it used to be recalls were such a big deal.
Yeah.
They're not such a
It's
big
every
deal.
day. They have new recalls every week.
Yeah, recall for this.
The big one you need to pay attention to is the airbag recall. Go to safercars.gov and check the VIN of your car multiple times a year.
And by the way, I did want to tell you that Jaguar Land Rover lost a UK court bid to get the trademark rights for the shape of its iconic Defender SUV, freeing billionaire Jim Ratcliffe's Ineos Group to go ahead with the Grenadier. I guess that's the way you pronounce it.
Grenadier.
Well, that's the way we would pronounce it.
No, that's the way the French pronounce it. Grenadier. Grenadier.
I want to. I don't
you
care.
want to talk about my Italian?
Yeah, you and your Italian. So there's that. All right. Well, you know what? I have had all that I can take.
But
of
the
this.
Grenadier.
I'm not dealing with this anymore. What did you say about the Grenadier?
Well, that's that's an EV.
The Grenadier.
The Grenadier.
Do you spell it with 2 E's?
It's not grenadine. That's the stuff you put in your
Booze.
old fashioned.
Yeah, exactly. God. Let me just go ahead and apologize for all of this right now. It's been a 2-hour mistake from the very beginning. We'll try to do better next week.
Our fearless leader.
That's it for today's In Wheel Time Car Show. Hey, when you're on Facebook, please give us a like. You'll also get Conrad's unicorn hunting features, along with all things automotive. If you missed a show or even a little chunk of it and you want to go back and laugh, well, you can find it online. Our website is inwheeltime.com and YouTube. Podcasts of the show can be had through Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher Radio, iHeart Podcasts, TuneIn, Google Podcast, and Podcast Addict. The In-Wheel Time Chief Engineer is the fabulous David Ainsley. Hiding under the table is our Video Technical Director and Sales Expert, Jeffrey Zeke, and special thanks to all of our guests today. For Mike Out of This World Mars, that's him. Hey. King Conrad DeLong, I'm Don Armstrong. Hey, thanks for joining us, and thank you for following the In-Wheel Time Car Show. Please tell your car friends about us. Have a great week. Stay cool, like you know you are. Be sure to catch our show online next Saturday, 10 a.m. to noon Central on Facebook, YouTube, and inwheeltime.com. We'll see you then. Please wear a belt.